When you hear the word millionaire, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably some tech genius out in Silicon Valley, right? Or maybe a flashy influencer. Well, what if I told you that a huge chunk of millionaires built their wealth in business, but not the kind you see on magazine covers? What if the real secret path to wealth is, well, incredibly boring? Let's get into it.
Okay, so take a look at this. This chart lays out a pretty brutal reality. You've got everyone chasing the next big thing in tech, right? The trendy startups. But the failure rates are insane, like over 90%. But then you look at this other category, boring businesses. We're talking laundromats, vending machine routes, self-storage. Their success rates are in the 90% range. It's a total flip of what we're usually told.
So it really makes you wonder, right? What's the hidden magic in being dull and normal? How do these businesses that nobody ever talks about consistently build wealth, while the exciting ones just crash and burn? Well, to really get it, we need to meet a guy named Harry.
Now, Harry's story is probably going to sound familiar. He wasn't born rich, he didn't have some genius one-in-a-million idea. He just had a regular job and that feeling in the back of his head that there had to be something more. The only problem? He was looking in all the wrong places.
Here's a quick snapshot of Harry's life when he was 32. On the left, you've got the reality. He's a logistics coordinator making a decent living, about $3,400 a month after tax, but, not exactly life-changing. And on the right, that's the dream, or at least the trendy paths he was chasing. Dropshipping, crypto, launching a clothing brand, all the stuff that promises fast, exciting money.
So, how'd all that go for him? Well, spoiler alert, not great. His dropshipping store made a grand total of $97. His big crypto adventure? Yeah, that turned $1,500 into just over $400. Ouch. And the clothing brand? That left him with 3 big boxes of unsold hoodies sitting in his hallway. It was all big hype, complicated funnels, and absolutely no predictable cash.
And then came the turning point. One night, Harry stumbled across this core idea from the book The Millionaire Next Door. And this one sentence, it just completely flipped a switch in his head. It suggested that real wealth wasn't about being some clever genius or chasing trends. It was about owning a necessary, kind of boring service and just letting the system work. He decided to stop guessing and treat this quote like an experiment.
So what did Harry do? He totally changed his game plan. He stopped chasing hype and started hunting for boring. He began stacking these small, unglamorous businesses, one right on top of the other. Let's see exactly how he pulled it off.
His very first move was to buy an old, tired-looking laundromat from a guy who was retiring. I mean, it's not sexy, but hey, people always need clean clothes, right? After he paid the loan, the rent, and all the other bills, his take-home profit in that first month was $1,317. Not a fortune for sure, but it was real, predictable cash flow that didn't need him to clock in more hours.
So while he was hanging out at the laundromat, Harry noticed something. People were always buying the same snacks from this little machine while they waited, and that's when the light bulb went off. He realized he didn't just own a laundromat, he owned a captive audience. So he bought a small vending route. By the end of that first year, it was clearing over $2,400 a month in profit just by capitalizing on the waiting time of his existing customers.
His third move was into self-storage. Now this felt like a bigger leap, so he got smart and partnered up with a contractor. Harry put up some of the money and agreed to run the day-to-day operations, while his partner handled the land and the construction. Once it was up and running, his share of the profit leveled out at almost $1,600 a month, and it was all based on one simple human truth. People do not like letting go of their stuff.
And here it is, the first huge payoff moment. You add it all up, and Harry's little boring empire was bringing in over $6,000 a month. He had officially stacked his way to an income that was nearly double his salary from his logistics job. Think about that. He didn't hit some massive home run. He just hit 3 very simple, very predictable singles.
The crazy part is, Harry's journey wasn't some unique fluke. As he dug deeper, he realized he'd stumbled onto a set of repeatable models. These types of businesses that, time and time again, show up in the stories of self-made millionaires.
Here are the big 6. You've got laundromats, vending, and self-storage. We've seen those. But also things like car washes, which just churn through customers. Recurring home services, like pest control or pool cleaning, where you build these predictable routes. And property management, being that essential middleman between landlords and tenants. The pattern is exactly the same. Unglamorous, necessary, and totally repeatable.
So what is it that all these businesses have in common? Well, it turns out they all pass a simple 3-part test. Harry realized this was the actual secret sauce, the framework that separates the boring, profitable businesses from the exciting ones that just burn through cash.
Okay, here's the framework. It's so simple. First, do customers pay you every month without you having to chase them down? Think about a storage unit or a pest control contract. Second, is buying from you a low-drama decision? Nobody holds a family meeting over buying a soda from a vending machine or getting a $12 car wash. And third, and this is the big one, can you eventually own the underlying asset, the machines, the building, the land itself? Because that is what creates real long-term wealth.
And this was the fundamental shift in his mindset. He went from chasing lottery tickets, always asking what could go viral, to methodically searching for opportunities that just fit a proven, predictable model. He wasn't looking for a needle in a haystack anymore. He was just looking for businesses in his own city that already fit the model with an owner who was ready to sell.
You know, the most powerful part of Harry's story is that it's not about some once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's about a repeatable process. So what does this actually mean for you, and how can you start thinking this way?
Just look at this transformation. At age 32, Harry's net worth was barely $5,000. Just 6 years later, by consistently stacking these boring assets, his net worth crossed the $1 million mark. There was no single explosive year, no viral moment, just slow, steady, relentless compounding from businesses that people drive by every single day without a second glance.
So what are your first steps if this sounds interesting? First, just start looking. Spend a little time each week just searching for actual local businesses for sale in your area. Second, run every single one you find through that 3-filter framework we just talked about. And third, and this might be the most important one, stop underestimating small cash flow. That first $1,300 a month didn't make Harry rich, but it proved the model worked and it changed his entire direction.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. The principle is simple. Own boring service needs, not flashy trends. Stack low-drama monthly cash flow. If you do that with discipline over time, you might just find your own path. So the question I want to leave you with is this. What overlooked, unglamorous, and incredibly boring business in your town is just waiting for someone like you to see its potential?